Steelers at Raiders. This is Sunday football. I'm going to give a free pick on this. First, so I'm going to ask you a question. I lean Pittsburgh here, and for one reason only. I want to know, what is your take on the Steelers? Because on one hand, look, their defense looked horrible against Denver, looked great against the Jets, and actually they had even more injuries against the Jets. What's your take?
I'll tell you what, coming into the season, I was high on the Steelers. I thought they were an undervalued team as far as futures go. Not the team everyone was talking about as far as winning the Super Bowl. But 2 games in, I'm not quite sure what to conclude with them. I mean, in Denver, they were in a terrible spot. That was obvious. But then when they
a terrible spot in what way?
Traveling to Denver.
But traveling for the first game, that's when traveling means the least.
True, but just they didn't do well there last year. They had the defensive injuries, the key player that couldn't play.
Harrison out.
It was Elway. It was Manning's first game. I mean, there was a lot of factors that weren't favorable to the Steelers, I think, in that situation. But then they were put in a position where they had pressure, Jets coming off a great win, a big win where they looked spectacular, and the Steelers totally, from what I saw, shut them down and did whatever they wanted. So I think I need to see more from this team before I could conclude, but I think they're definitely a top 3.
Here's the thing. Top 3 in the NFL?
No, AFC.
Oh.
AFC.
Okay. Here's the thing. I saw it against Sanchez. It's the classic case of Pittsburgh when they're playing a top elite quarterback. And I mean top 5 or 6. I'm not saying 7, 8, or 9. Top 5 or 6. They have trouble. A quarterback that is really, really accurate, that releases the ball fast. They have been having trouble with him even when this defense was younger. Against a quarterback that's average or below, they just are able. LeBeau, the D coordinator, if you're one-dimensional, he can take that away from you. But if you can do both, they have a lot of trouble.
Is it because they're aggressive, RJ? They over-pursue?
I just think in the NFL today, you can't take everything away. I mean, the reality is what defense does take everything away. True. And Pittsburgh has if you look against the Jets, it was like after that first possession that the Jets did well offensively, it was a situation where they didn't have anything the rest of the game. So, and again, Sanchez is not an elite quarterback. So, one, that leads to my, I lean Pittsburgh here. I don't like laying points on the road, but I think this is a team that was really upset with the first loss. I also think they got a little sense of momentum. And I also think that, again, we know the Raiders do not have, Carson Palmer is anything but an elite quarterback. So really for me, it's pretty much if Pittsburgh's playing a non-elite quarterback, I'm looking that way because I got to tell you, I don't think the offense for the other team is going to score very much. In the last few years, the history backs that up. What's your kind of main consideration on the entire game?
Taking off what you said, because you know the Pittsburgh Steelers as well as anyone, that's your team, that's who you follow. Based on what you said, then I have to say the Steelers are the side here because of the fact the Raiders have become one-dimensional. McFadden's one of the best running backs in the league, and yet he averaged 2.1 yards a carry and 2 yards per carry in games 1 and 2. So he's not getting it done. They've had Carson Palmer have to attempt 96 passes in 2 games, and yet they've only scored less than 30 points combined in 2 games. So the Raiders are a team that has become one-dimensional. But the Steelers seem to be one-dimensional offensively as well. They have yet to rush for 100 yards. Now, granted, they don't have their key running back in that spot, but they still should. Now it's running back by committee in the NFL.
Okay, so slow down. And this is where I think watching a team extra closely gives you some extra insight, hopefully, is Mendenhall to me is a marginal difference at best, especially with Dwyer. Dwyer is getting more and more carries, and he looks better than Mendenhall did right now than Mendenhall did last year. And Redmond looks good, not great. And they got Rainey, that Florida kid, 5th-round pick, that they're actually getting the ball to a lot. So to be candid with you, I think that they're back. Mendenhall, when he comes back, we'll welcome him back. But I don't think it's much of an upgrade. I do agree with you. If it's 3rd and 2, the Steelers don't have the ability to get that 2 yards by rushing. The O-line's not strong enough right now for that. But they're running enough, combined with enough quick passes, is that Big Ben has the least amount of pressure that he's had, because really 2/3 of the time he's throwing screens or quick timing patterns, and only 1/3 is he extending the play. And because they have to be jumping up, and the different if they're trying to defend a timing pass or screens, they can't put as much upfield pressure. So it's kind of the runs and the other kind of passes are slowing it down. When Big Ben does go deep, he's got more time than I've seen him have in probably 4 years.
Do you think the Steelers are still overvalued? Because here's the thing: before the season started, Canner had this game at -3. Now it's 4.5 at Oakland.
Well, but the Raiders,
I think
I think Pittsburgh probably is considered to be flat right now. I think people probably downgraded them a point after game 1 and put them back up a point after game 2. I think they're probably right where they started the season. I think any change from the Cantor line is the Raiders.
The Raiders spot, yeah. Steelers haven't done good in this spot. They're 0-8 ATS. Off a double-digit cover. I mean, it's a small sample size, but it tells you that here's a public team that you're going to pay extra points for.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I'm going to pick Pittsburgh games every week. I certainly am not going to pick Pittsburgh every week. So this isn't a big bet for me.
Right.
But we've talked it through. Let's make it official. Okay, guys, I like Pittsburgh here, but it's only for pizza money. And remember, injuries to safety, I call him Troy because I don't want to try to pronounce that last name, and James Harrison are very important. Wait up until game time. If both are playing, that's a big upgrade. If both aren't playing, I'm going to pass. If one plays, I still have a slight lean. It's Pittsburgh, though. I'm not going Raiders no matter what. Okay, Ace, any closing thoughts?
No, I like it. You're confident in your Steelers team, but not enough to make a big bet, but enough to put your dinner on it.
I tell you, if you go back through their ATS logs the last 3 or 4 years and say circle every game against an elite quarterback, and then every other game not, their ATS record is quite strong against a non-elite quarterback.
It makes sense.
All right, guys, that's our first video of the week. We're going to be doing like literally double-digit number of videos this week, and you can get them all at pregame.tv. All right, so.